Good morning, everyone. I am Suzanne Routhier. We are at the Practitioner's Weekend at Enlightening View. Hi. Sorry, we're technical difficulties getting the camera set up over there.
Yeah.
So let's just wait a second. Are you all set?
We're good.
Oh, okay. We're good. It's not showing me though.
No, it's showing me.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is
just talk.
You do your thing, and I will listen and chime in.
All right. So what I'm here to talk about today is ethics, privacy, and education. As practitioners, these are things we need to remember and we need to do. So I'm going to start with a little history about myself. I have a Bachelor of Science in Wellness and Alternative Medicine from Johnson State College. Vermont University, Northern Vermont University, Johnson Campus is what it's called now. Sorry, see, I'm still used to calling it the other thing. So anyway, I have a degree from them. I also have a master's degree in healthcare administration. I've been a Reiki practitioner and master teacher for 25 years. So I just want you to know that the things I'm talking about I'm not just pulling them out of crevices and cracks. Like, I have the debt to prove I did this crap, okay? And I'm joking. Like, I'm not saying that I know everything, but I just want, we're in a field of practice that we get a lot of flack for because of, if we're doing holistic healing, well, there's no scientific proof. Well, sometimes scientific proof isn't necessary. So if we make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, they can't come at us for another thing. If you're a pagan practitioner, we don't have those kind of guidelines, but it's still a good idea to follow some sort of a guideline, whether it's, following, parts of HIPAA that are about keeping your client private. Those are great, not sharing that information. That's excellent. So education is the first thing I'm going to touch on. So doctors, teachers, police officers, they all have to take classes regularly to learn what's new in their field, what's going on in their industry. And it's important for us as practitioners, holistic, pagan, whatever, to be learning as well. We don't have, for the most part, we don't have a school to go to. Some, massage therapists can go and take maybe a day training. Reiki practitioners can get together and share ideas. Pagans can go and visit other pagans, but there's not necessarily a school for us to go to. There are for some specific areas, but for the most part, there isn't any. So what we've got to do is we have the internet, which is a great resource. And we have authors that are well learned in their field that sell books, which is excellent. We can go to events like this and share ideas with other practitioners. We can go to conventions. I believe there's a massage convention or a holistic healing convention in Montpelier sometime in early September. I'm not quite sure where, when, but I found it on Facebook at some point. So these are all good things, but, and it's a big but, an idea can become common knowledge, but not be right. So like, everybody knows that when you shave, your hair grows back thicker. It's not true. Scientifically, it is inaccurate, but everybody says it. Scientifically, what happens is you cut the soft tip off, so yeah, it feels thicker because it's blunted. It's not thicker than it was before. It's exactly the same as it was before. You've blunted the end, so it feels thicker to you. It's the same hair that was there before. So, it's common knowledge. Like, that's a wives' tale that my mother tells me that all the time. Like, you shouldn't shave your face because, it's going to grow back thicker. Trust me, it hasn't changed in the last 10 years. It's exactly the same as it was. So, and then there's other ideas that are out there that are common knowledge, but aren't necessarily correct. So if you find an idea that you like and you want to run with, research. Touch base with other practitioners. That's one of the reasons we're here. If you have a question about something and you're not sure about it, send it to the Enlightening View Facebook page. Send it to me personally. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to reach out to others. I'm going to do research and we'll find an answer. We'll come to a common conclusion. Some things sound great, but in practice, maybe aren't a good practice. So that's my rant on education. Just know that things aren't set in stone, especially in our fields, because our fields are fluid. They're fluid. They're always changing. There's always something new coming up, something that we've been doing for a long time that maybe isn't appropriate to do anymore, or styles change. And that's all good and that's all well, but make sure you check your sources. Like, I can't stress that enough. Maybe that's the classic education point of me, but check your resources. That way there, if you do have somebody come in that's like, well, why do you do it this way? You can say, oh, well, I've studied this and I've worked with other practitioners and, we've decided that maybe this is, I'm really liking this way of doing it. And we decided that maybe it's okay to do it this way as long as you're comfortable with it. Always stress that one too, as long as you're comfortable with it. Anything to add, Bryant?
One thing that we always tell, like, people who come in for massage, Vermont does not require a license for massage. You can literally go hang up a shingle and say, I'm a massage therapist. So we often tell people to look for their degree. In the state of Vermont, you have to have on your wall, as a first-time client, you have to be able to see their degrees on their wall, or you have to be handed a piece of paper that says, this is what I have my degrees in. Like here for Enlightening View. Ray has a degree in massage therapy. I do not have a degree in massage therapy, but I do massage. I apprenticed under Ray for 4 years before I started working with clients. He made sure I knew everything that he knew. And one of the first things that we tell people when they come for massage is, I do not have a degree. I apprenticed under Ray. On Ray's wall in his office is his degree. When you walk into our office, you will see everything that we have certifications in. I mean, there's a lot. My wall is full.
It's full. I can vouch for it. It's full.
But, it's not there to brag. It's there by law.
So if you're going to, this is only true for in New England. It's only true for Vermont. I did research for this discussion on Vermont and New Hampshire because we're right on the border. And a lot of us go back and forth. So in New Hampshire, you have to be a massage therapist, a licensed massage therapist, to practice Reiki legally. That's their rules. Because the only way to get a body working license from the state is to have a massage degree. So if your buddy wants to give you a massage, that's great, but they can't charge you for it. And if they live in New Hampshire. Vermont, literally all we had to do was go on and say we wanted a license, and they check your background and you get it.
Yeah. For Reiki in Vermont, though, you do have to say what school you went to.
Yes.
Because that was what I had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's just, it's important to know, people feel safe when they come to you. They want to know that they're in good hands and not have to worry. So you practicing and, giving them that safe environment, especially with holistic healthcare,
exactly,
is extremely important.
And traditional medicine is looking for us to put one toe out of line, make one mistake. So don't give them the chance.
And the reason why they're looking is because a lot of people are going to holistic medicine.
Yes.
Like up around here, even a lot of the doctors are pushing it.
Yes. And it's not, I worked for a doctor who, I was his office manager, but he'd come and get me and go, can you change your hat? Because I need you to come do Reiki. I'm not quite sure what's going on with this patient. So I would go in and work Reiki on this patient and give him my perception of it. I'm an empath, and he knew that. We worked in a hospital together prior to that. And if he couldn't figure out what was wrong with the patient, he'd have me come in and do Reiki in an ER to help him figure out what's going on. I couldn't diagnose it, but I could say there's something going on. There's something going on here. And so he could then kind of focus his study on that area and maybe figure out. And I was able to help him many, many times. So not every doctor's against it. But if we mess up, trust me, they're gonna be on our case. So we need to, I's dotted and T's crossed.
Definitely.
All right. And so the other part of this talk is privacy and ethics, and these go hand in hand. And ethics is a very abstract, idea. It's very difficult, and being ethical is, everybody's personal ethics is different. But, body work, if you're a body worker and you were taught in a professional setting, you were taught how to drape and how to, touch people. And this is all very ethical things. And making sure that, and making sure that you're keeping their information private. You have to give them information when you go to your first body working session. And you have to make sure that that's all, and that's all kept private, preferably locked up somewhere in like a filing cabinet, but definitely kept private so that people can't just paw through it. So there's a practitioner that we work with. Her name is Tara. She reads cards on TikTok. And ethically, I did talk to her about this. I get her permission to do this. We actually had a whole conversation about this. She does card readings on TikTok. She does just a quick reading on TikTok. You send money to her, and she will read right there on her lives, which I think is fantastic. But people often continue to ask her more questions about it, and she will tell them, this is more in depth than I would like to go online, but you can schedule an appointment with me offline and we can continue the discussion. So she's very clear about the information's getting too personal. We need to not do this in front of everybody. And it's something that, we all have to be aware of. Is this a conversation we need to be having during the retreat with 20 people standing around, or do we need to take it somewhere else so we can have this conversation quietly? There's terms like in the medical world, we use best practices all the time. And in corporate lingo too. And it's rather an obscure term, just like ethics. It's everybody has their own ideas. But I hate doing role playing. I hate it. But I'm going to throw out some scenarios out there so we can discuss best practices. So I'm a body worker with a client, and I notice their energy is off over a specific part of the body. I ask them if they have anything going on there. Is that okay to do?
Yes.
Absolutely. We can ask if they have medical conditions because our work may cause issues with their medical conditions. We need to know if they have medical conditions. So the client replies they don't know if anything's wrong, and I suggest they may wish to check with their PCP. Is that okay to do?
No.
You don't think so?
Well, I don't think you'll have the availability to do it.
And I think if I'm feeling their energy is off enough, that if I just say, you might want to, the next time you're in with your PCP, you might want to have them check it.
Oh, you mean have them check with...
Yes.
Okay.
Not me.
Okay.
I'm not going to call their PCP, but just say, hey, that's a little funky going on there. Maybe you want to, just tell your PCP there's something going on here and you'd like to have it checked out.
Especially with massage, we do that a lot.
Yes, absolutely. The client asked me what it is, and I answered that I've worked on cancer patients before, and it feels like a tumor to me.
No.
Absolutely not. Never, ever, 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 ever. Just be vague. Yeah, it just feels a little funky. Just go. If it was on me, I'd go have it checked out. And that's a great way to say it. If it was me, I'd go have it checked out. So I'm a Reiki practitioner, but I have no state license, no client agreements, and scheduling several people a day. Is this legal?
Not in Vermont.
Not in Vermont and not in New Hampshire. You have to check with your state. You have to check with your state. So I only checked in New Hampshire and Vermont because we're way up north, and those are the only two states we have a lot of contact with. So no, you have to in our states be licensed. And like we said earlier, in Vermont, it's not a huge deal, but it still needs to be done. Your client, while you're working with them, makes several comments about killing themselves. Their threats seem genuine, and you are very concerned. What should you do?
Okay, I've actually had to deal with this. What I do, personally, is I suggest they seek medical help. And I tell them that if they don't feel comfortable seeking the help, if I have their permission, I can help them while they're with me. I don't know if that's the right way or the wrong way. It's just that's how I handled it.
So I always stress your safety comes first. So if you're comfortable with the client, you can ask them if, I'm concerned about your safety. Do you mind if I call a friend to take you someplace safe? Do you mind if I call the ambulance to come and get you? Because I'm really concerned about your safety. If you're not, if the client is not somebody you're comfortable doing that with, but you are still really, really concerned about them, wait until they leave. You can call the police to ask them to do a wellness check. You can call EMS and say, I just had this client. You have their information. If you're doing your job right, you already have their information. You have their address. You have their phone number. And as a practitioner, we're not medical, but if we were in a medical world, we would have to report this. So just be proactive and do what you feel comfortable. But you can always, anybody, even a neighbor can call the police and say, hey, I have concerns about my neighbor. They're acting funny. And they can go and do a wellness check. It's what it's called. So you have you're doing a card reading, a tarot reading. And your client is becoming very emotional and sharing a great deal of personal traumatic information with you. It's obvious to you that they could probably use some counseling. Do you do counseling?
It depends on the state.
It does depend on the state.
In Vermont, you don't have to have a license to be a counselor. But I would never, ever recommend providing counseling.
And I would say nope on that one as well. Instead, you can just listen. Sometimes people just need to get shit off their chest.
Oh, yeah.
Just listen. Don't just, If they ask for advice, what's worked for me is, and then you're not telling them something inappropriate. It worked for me. It's not necessarily going to work for you. It worked for me. You can share information. Maybe you have a counseling office that you go to. Share that information with them. I go counseling, and if you'd like to, I can give you the information I have on my counseling or a counseling near you or whatever. I do that all the time. I do online counseling, and I share that information everywhere. Client asks you about a therapy that you are familiar with but do not practice yourself. Can you answer their questions about that therapy?
Could you repeat it?
So, like, you have a client come in who wants to have acupuncture done, but you're not an acupuncture practitioner. You have some information about it. Maybe you've done it yourself, or maybe you have a friend who does it, but they have questions about it. And they want to ask you about some things about acupuncture. Do you answer their questions?
No, you refer them to somebody who has the answers.
Again, that's one of those situations like, I have had acupuncture, so I can say, well, when I had it done to myself, this is how it turned out for me. Again, you're not giving them any information that you haven't personally done. And again, refer them to somebody who does acupuncture.
Now, I just want to. We're having a lot of people coming in, and I just want to do just a quick. This is what this talks about again, just for the new people.
So we are discussing ethics, privacy, and education. So we've already done the education, and now we're just doing examples of best practices and ethical and privacy issues. So if we're working with a client, these things come up all the time. So my next one is, I'm working with Bryant, or I'm working on a client, and I don't feel that I'm the right fit, but I'd like to refer them to Bryant. Is that okay?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I actually did a live this morning. I was doing affirmations, and one of the things I did was, during that live, I actually talked a little bit about, people coming here, and if they didn't feel comfortable, not to be afraid to say they're
absolutely
not comfortable here. Because we keep a list of people locally who do all this stuff.
Yep.
So we can guide you to somebody who can help you. Practice. Our practice is love and light. We want to send you to somebody who can be the right fit for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.